7 bone-chilling yard sale horror stories that haunt you forever. In the quiet little town of Windermere, yard sales were a weekend ritual, but sometimes, the treasures hidden among the trinkets were darker than anyone could imagine. Just last summer, a family stumbled upon an old, creaky rocking chair at a sale on Maple Street. The seller's eyes were hollow, and her voice quivered as she assured them it was haunted by memories. They laughed it off. That night, they were jolted awake by a faint creaking sound. It was the chair, rocking on its own, the air thick with an eerie chill. The next morning, when they checked again, the chair was gone. Gone, without a trace, just like a ghost. It wasn't just that chair. In another part of town, a canvas painting found at a yard sale had strange eyes that seemed to follow you, no matter where you stood. The artwork was of a woman, cloaked in shadows, and her smile felt off too wide, too knowing. Susan, who bought it, hung it proudly in her living room, but soon she noticed odd whispers at night that sounded like her own name. Friends visiting would gaze at the painting for too long, unable to tear their eyes away, till one day, Susan caught one of them muttering an apology to the canvas. When she asked why, he simply shook his head and left, never to return again. Then there was that cursed record player, sitting quietly at a garage sale like a time bomb. Bob, a music fanatic, grabbed it, believing it would add charm to his collection. But every time he played a record, the music would warp into cries, straining into something ominous. One night, he awoke to find the player spinning on its own, a single bloody record whirling and screeching through the dimly lit room. Bob ran, never looking back, leaving behind an echo that haunted the house. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Not far from Bob's experience, another neighbor found an old trunk filled with dusty dolls, their glassy eyes glinting in the setting sun. They looked almost lifelike, too real. The new owner, a mother, placed the trunk in her daughter's room, thinking of childhood joy. But soon, the dolls began to multiply. Each time she checked, one more doll appeared, almost as if they were breeding overnight. Laughter turned to screams when her daughter claimed the dolls whispered secrets of the night. And what of the antique mirror, lurking in the darkest corner of a yard sale? A reflection that didn't belong to anyone looking into it. Carl bought it, chuckling at the absurd notion that it showed shadows of the past. But every time he glanced in it, he saw a woman behind him, always dressed in black. Turning around, there was no one, just his own shaking hands reflecting fear. Eventually, Carl ripped it off the wall, desperate to forget the echoes of that sorrowful soul. As the sun set on Windermere, the yard sales transformed into gateways of terror, blending thrilling memories with terrifying realizations. What lay behind the items sold for pennies could unleash nightmares far beyond their respective yard lines. But what really kept the breath down one's throat was the one secret every yard sale held: who would be next? Who would buy the next horror? What item would change their life forever, or rip away the thin veil between the known and the unknown? The town held on to its secrets tightly, but for those who dared rummage through the remnants of forgotten lives, one thing was clear: the real horror wasn't just the objects. It was the stories they carried, and the souls that were drawn to them. Just as twilight descended over Windermere, another yard sale drew eager collectors and curious onlookers to a dilapidated house on Elm Street. Old furniture and dusty knickknacks lay sprawled out on rickety tables. But one item caught the attention of a local teen, Mia. It was a weathered music box resting on a small, tattered quilt. Intrigued, she approached directly. The vendor, an elderly man with a sunken face, barely lifted his gaze. "That music box has a soul," he warned in a gravelly tone. "It can soothe, or torment." Mia chuckled, dismissing the ominous tone. How bad can a music box be? She scoffed, handing over a crumpled $5 bill. As she wandered home, she couldn't shake the feeling that the old man had been watching her closely, his eyes sharp like daggers. Once she arrived, she sat down on her bed, excitement bubbling inside her as she opened the box. A haunting tune echoed softly, filling the room with melancholy. In that moment, the air thickened, pressing against her chest. The first night passed uneventfully, but as the melody played on repeat, whispers began to seep through her dreams, entwining with the music. They were soft at first like a lullaby. But then came the visions, shadowy figures swirling under the pale moonlight, their faces twisted in sorrow. The more she listened, the clearer they became. Days spun on as Mia became increasingly entranced by the music box. Friends came over, their laughter resonating in the walls, but one by one, they fell silent as they listened to the eerie melody. Mia noticed their faces ghostly pale, eyes widening in terror, yet she brushed it off as her friends overreacting. How could something so beautiful be bad? Then, late at night, she began to hear her mother crying from the living room. Startled, Mia rushed to the sound. Her mom sat there, seemingly entranced, tears streaming down her face, whispering apologies to the shadows that gathered around the flickering light. "Mom! What's wrong?" Mia cried out, confusion choking her words. Her mother turned, eyes glazed as if she weren't really there. "They just want to be heard." Mia's heart raced, dread creeping in. Her mother's anguish was palpable, and realization struck this music box was doing something to her family. Panic clawed at Mia's throat. She needed to get rid of it. Rushing back to her room, she yanked open the box, ready to toss it out. But the moment she lifted the lid, the room plunged into darkness. The melody twisted into a cacophony of screams. A chill seized the air around her, wrapping her in an icy grip. She stumbled backward, the music turning desperate, frantic in its plea, then silence. And it was deafening. Mia held her breath, frozen in the empty void. She dared not look around, terrified of what shadows lurked in the corners. But a soft, familiar laugh broke through the stillness. It was her mother, yet distorted, mocking. "You've brought them here." In a sudden rush to escape, Mia bolted from her room, but she collided with someone in the hallway. It was the old man from the yard sale, smirking knowingly. "You have awakened what should have stayed asleep. Now it's time to pay the price." With those words hanging in the air like a noose, the darkness thickened, and Mia felt the panic rising. What awaited her now? Would she face the terrible price for her curiosity, or could she set things right before the music silenced forever? As shadows curled around her, she realized, she was no longer alone. Mia blinked against the darkness, her heart racing in her chest. The walls of her home twisted and warped, shadows stretching like fingers, clawing at her sanity. The old man's smirk chilled her to the bone. She stepped back, bumping against the doorframe, but it felt like a prison now, the exit out of reach. "Who are you?" she yelled, her voice trembling, trying to reclaim her power. The shadows shifted, roses of gloom dancing eerily, while the old man remained still, a ghostly sentinel in her doorway. "You'll find out soon enough," he whispered, and the shadows nodded at his command. Panic surged through her veins, igniting a fight-or-flight response within her. She forced herself forward, weaving through the darkness, hoping to escape the weight of despair that hung in the air like a thick fog. But the shadows followed, drifting closer, their whispers becoming a haunting cacophony. "Let us in, let us out, hear our song." They crept into her ears, twisting her thoughts like vines. The music box's eerie melody seeped into her mind, a reminder of the price she now faced. The moment she stumbled into the living room, she found her mother still there, eyes wide and vacant. Mia's breath caught. "Mom!" She rushed forward, grabbing her shoulders, shaking her gently. "You have to wake up." But her mother merely smiled, a broken expression, her gaze drifting beyond Mia, lost to the voices only she could hear. "They're calling, we must listen." Her voice reverberated with a chilling sincerity that wrapped around Mia's spine like icy hands. "Mom, no. This isn't right. Mia pleaded, panic rising with every passing second. She turned back to face the darkness, determined to reclaim her family, but the shadows pulsed like a living thing, a suffocating blanket that pressed against her skin. That in a desperate bid, she glanced at the music box still clutched tightly in her shaky hand. No, she whispered fiercely. I won't let it control us. Without a second thought, she lifted the box high above her head, her heartbeat thrumming in her ears. The whispers escalated into feral howls. With all her strength, she hurled the music box to the floor. It hit with a deafening crash, and the melody interrupted itself mid-note, exploding into silence. For a fraction of a second, everything froze, a stillness so profound that it felt like a gasp. Mia held her breath, praying the shadows would retreat, but then came a shuddering, desperate laugh that echoed through the air, resonating from the very walls themselves. Foolish girl. The old man's voice boomed. You can't destroy what you cannot see. The shadows coiled tighter around her, their icy fingers clutching at her throat, stealing her breath, and a piercing pain shot through her mind. The room spun as she collapsed to the floor. Despair clawed at her soul, threatening to pull her into the depths of despair. Mia, her mother's voice wavered, suddenly clear, but distant. The song we needed to finish it. The pieces began to align. This music box was just a torment, it was a vessel, a conduit for something far darker. Mia's chest tightened as she realized the urgency. The completion of the music was not only about her mother but about the legion of shadows wrapped in their agony. Trembling and wild with desperation, she raised her gaze to the remnants of the shattered music box, glimmering on the floor. What do I do? She thought, even as a part of her craved to flee from this horror. The shadows swirled closer, their faces now partially visible, each one marred by sorrow and pain. Mia felt their collective weight, begging for release. A heart-wrenching thought struck her. What if the only way to save her mother was to understand their sorrow? Let us hear your song, she whispered to the shadows, and tentatively, she knelt before the cracked music box. As silence spread like a blanket around her, she dared to listen, feeling the flicker of hope ignite within the darkness. The shadows surged toward her, their whispers echoing in a symphony of pain and yearning. What terrible truth would she unearth? Would she be able to confront the haunting melody and set them all free, or had she opened a door that could never be closed? Mia knelt in the dim light, heart hammering in her chest as the oppressive shadows loomed closer. The air crackled with latent energy, thick with longing and despair. What do you want from me? She whispered, her voice quaking. The shadows shifted, forming tortured faces filled with anguish. Their mouths moved as one, a disembodied chorus. The song unfinished, they cried, their voices weaving a tapestry of sorrow that clung to her like fog. She felt the weight of their sadness enveloping her, threatening to pull her into their abyss. Desperate to break the cycle, she fished through her memories for the last note that had played before the music box shattered, the single spark that made it all real. Her mind raced back to happier times, a sunlit attic filled with laughter, the sound of her mother's voice guiding her through the notes. Mom taught me, but how could she summon that melody? As if sensing her hesitation, the shadows intensified their whispers, their collective breath ghosting against her skin. Finish the song, bring us peace. Trembling, Mia pressed her palms to the ground, closing her eyes. She thought back to every family moment lost to time and the grotesque memories discarded by this curse. Surely, buried beneath that weight lay the missing melody. Straining to remember, she began to hum softly, a flicker of a harmony that danced in her mind. The shadows paused, their attention peaked. As she hummed, Mia felt a strange connection. Every wail morphed into curiosity, their pain transforming into anticipation. Listen to us, the shadows urged, their tones intertwining with her gentle melody. With each breath, she felt a swell of purpose and strength rise within her, pushing back her fear. She swayed slightly, coaxing the echoes of a once familiar tune. Fragments of laughter, echoes of joy, floated around her, intertwining with her humming. It was there, she could almost grasp it. I need to remember, she gasped, nearly drowning in the haunting whispers. The old man's laughter rolled through the air again, but this time it felt diminished, almost desperate. You foolish girl. You think mere memories could save you? Shut up. Mia shot back, defiance igniting in her. This is our song. Suddenly, the shadows lunged, and Mia was engulfed in darkness. The cries morphed into a shriek, a tumultuous wave of agony that propelled her away from her body. It felt like drowning in despair, and yet, she clung fiercely to the flickering memory of joy, the laughter of her youth, the harmonious echoes of her mother guiding her through it all. In that moment, she felt her mother's presence, warm and familiar. Finish it, Mia, her mother's voice echoed through the shadows, steady and strong. Mia's heartbeat synchronized with the frantic whispers, and through the chaos, she found a single thread of clarity. I remember. She shouted, unleashing the notes buried deep within her. She sang louder, clear and fierce, drawing the shadows in with an incandescent fire. The shadows trembled as the melody intertwined with their sorrow, their anguished expressions shifting towards something softer, more human. It was no longer just a cacophony, it became a symphony, and then, the ground shuddered beneath her as the energy peaked, an incandescent surge rising like a tidal wave. This is how it ends. She bellowed, her voice melding with the haunting melody. But then something unexpected happened. A piercing scream erupted from within the shadows, splintering the harmony. No. You can't. The old man's voice shattered the moment, rising from the depths of darkness. Mia's heart raced as she turned to face him, squinting against the swirling shadows. What do you want? She shouted defiantly, but inside, dread settled in the pit of her stomach. The shadows writhed violently around her, and just as the melody reached its crescendo, a sudden darkness enveloped the room, strangling her song. Finish what you have started, the shadows whispered again. Mia's resolve faltered. She took a deep breath. The truth hung heavy in the air, tantalizing and terrifying. Could she really be the one to end it all? And looking into the faces formed from the shadows, she realized with a jolt that perhaps the key to their freedom lay not only in finishing the song but revealing the darkest secret embedded within their melody. What horrific truth could lie ahead, waiting for her to unearth? Could she risk it all and uncover what had been hidden for so long? Mia's heart raced, tethered between the desperate pull of the shadows and the weight of the song swirling inside her. She felt bare against the onslaught of dark truths lurking in the space beyond her fragile melody. Each note she had uttered now echoed, reverberating off the walls of despair, drawing closer like a thick fog closing in around her. Finish what you have started. The whispers grew more urgent, punctuating the thick silence that hung between her and the old man. He stepped forward, his face a mask of shadows and regret. His eyes, dark and pleading, bore into her soul. Tell them the truth. What truth? She demanded, the words teetering on the edge of defiance and dread. The shadows coiled tighter, their tortured faces reflecting the pain she felt deep inside. As if answering her, the air shifted, drawing her into a deeper abyss. She could sense it. Something monumental was about to unfold. The old man raised his arms, a twisted semblance of reverence. You are the key, Mia. The song binds us to this wretched place. You must unveil what lies hidden in its notes. Each heartbeat drummed louder in her ears, drowning out the cacophony swirling around her. What lay beneath the surface of the sorrow? Would revisiting their pain leave her even more lost? But suddenly, memories surged like water breaking through a dam. Her mother, the laughter, the warmth of home, interwoven with the chilling cries of despair. Could it be possible that something, even the darkest truths, could bring them peace? Mia closed her eyes, locking onto a more vivid memory, the final note, the last breath of a song. I need to remember, she whispered. The shadows began to sway, slowly at first, almost tentatively. They fed off her uncertainty, looking for a way to break the chains of sorrow that bound them. Sing the truth, the old man urged, his voice a frayed whisper, mingling with the fading echoes of the shadows. With renewed determination, Mia pressed forward, collecting every shard of memory, every echo of joy and despair. We'll unearth the truth together. She stepped boldly into the heart of the shadows, the melody rising with her resolve. With each word, she turned pain into a raw, aching symphony. The shadows slowed, their writhing becoming rhythmic, absorbing her burgeoning light, and there it was a line, a phrase lingering just beyond reach. It beckoned her, pulling her deeper into the melody. I see you, I hear you. She continued, feeling the energy shift as the path to the truth materialized before her. Shadows morphed into stories, each note unveiling a layer of grief wrapped tightly around memories long buried. But then, the old man laughed, a cold, cruel sound that sliced through her tentative connection. You think the truth will save you? It'll shatter you. Enough. Mia screamed, her voice resonating like thunder. You can't stop me. In that moment, the shadows surged forth, a tidal wave of anguish crashing down, threatening to drown her. Each face was awash in torment, yet she clung fiercely to the faith that peace could prevail. Then, piercing through the fabric of sorrow, she found the heart of the melody, the terror of the truth within the laughter of lost time. Two souls entwined in endless torment, that's the secret. She sang, not just with her voice but with every fiber of her being. Suddenly, the ground underfoot quaked, tossing her into the air. The shadows hissed and writhed, the energy pulsing like a living thing. Mia hung on, her heart pounding, fueled by the desperate need to finish, but as she reached the heart of the truth, the old man surged back into her view, rage emanating from his fading form. You don't know what you're invoking. What had she really unleashed? Questions spiraled like a whirlwind around her. Was it too late to turn back? The atmosphere crackled with tension. Mia was faced with a decision: complete the song and confront whatever dark truth lay ahead, or retreat, leaving the shadows to their torment. Before she could choose, a chilling growl echoed through the air. Finish what you've started, Mia, and... Suddenly, she knew the end of the melody was merely the beginning of a far more sinister awakening. What horror would she awaken in her quest for freedom? She took a deep breath, ready to unravel the truth woven between heartache and harmony. The moment was at hand. What awaited her on the other side of the song? The shadows roared, a tempest of grief spiraling around Mia as she held tightly to the melody. Her heart felt like a drum, pounding against the veil of darkness. Every whispered truth, every haunting note, pressed down on her like a heavy shroud. A primal fear seized her, freezing her in place as she fought against the urge to flee. Finish it. The old man's voice commanded, cutting through the chaos. You must face what you've awakened. In that moment, she felt the weight of his words. What had she truly unleashed? Each note she had sung throbbed in her chest, a living entity clamoring for release. Anguish danced before her, faces twisted in eternal sorrow, their eyes pleading for liberation. Mia steadied herself, taking a step forward. I have to know the truth. The ground trembled beneath her feet as she reached for the core of it all, a resounding truth hidden beneath layers of darkness. Suddenly, the shadows shifted, forming an endless corridor of memories. Each one was vivid and raw, screams of anguish sweetened with whispers of forgotten laughter. Images flickered like a broken film reel, her childhood home a ghostly apparition, and her mother's warm smile morphing into tears. Mia. Her name echoed around her, a desperate cry woven into the music. Was it her mother? Was she here? The shadows grew restless, as if they sensed her hesitation. Find her. The old man urged, desperation lacing his voice. She's the key to understanding. You must remember. Heart pounding, Mia focused. Uncertain, she recalled the love intertwined with pain. Mother, where are you? She called out, each word tinged with longing. The shadows pulsed, drawing in close, the air thickening with expectation. Then, a face emerged, gaunt and smeared with sorrow. It was no longer a child's glorious recollection but an echo of a woman torn between worlds. Mia, her mother's voice trembled from the abyss, spectral and bittersweet. You have to listen to the song and finish it, only then can I find rest. Tears stung Mia's eyes. But what if it ends in agony? She questioned silently, fear gripping her heart. Only through the pain can you break free. Her mother's south face seemed so close yet so far, engulfed in shadows that twisted like ghosts, and then the truth surged like a wave, crashing over her. The song it binds us all. Mia gasped, realization igniting every nerve in her body. Faces in the shadows shifted, flickering like starlight caught in a storm. Each face was a vessel, tethered to their own unresolved sorrows, yearning for the same release her mother begged for. "Finish what you've started," the old man implored, undeniably urgent. "Sing it back to them." A voice chimed from somewhere deep within, the call of the melody awakening her resolve. With newfound courage, Mia opened her mouth, pouring every ounce of her being into the song. "You're not lost. Together we are free." The notes rang out, piercing through despair like sunlight through dark clouds. Beneath her, the shadows twisted violently, howling in response. But just as the shadows began to shimmer, a deafening roar erupted from the depths, a clash of anguish and fury. "You think you can save them?" the old man cried, his voice drowning in the chaos. "They belong to the darkness." The ground quaked violently, sending Mia to her knees. Could she forge a path to freedom through the echoes of their pain? Time slowed, her breath catching in her throat as the shadows converged upon her, desperate to silence her song. Mia squeezed her eyes shut, thrusting her voice into the depths of the swirling chaos. "I will not fear you," she shouted. The shadows surged, contorting around her in a desperate attempt to snuff her out. But then, just as she felt herself slipping into darkness, a faint glimmer appeared. Hope. Light. Could it be? She pushed against the pressure, determined to claim her voice. "You are not alone. I will free you all." And just as the first shimmer began to break through, a piercing scream erupted, echoing from the shadows. "No." The atmosphere thickened, each note hanging in the air like a fragile promise what horrors lay in wait. As a cacophony of voices swelled around her, Mia braced herself. What awaited her on the other side of the haunting song? Mia's heart raced in a symphony of panic and determination, echoes of despair brushing up against the walls of her mind as she fought to break through. A cold sweat soaked her brow. The shadows whipped around her like storm winds, howling with every ounce of frustration they housed. Voices swirled, mingling in her ears, a cacophony of past lives and lost hopes. Suddenly, she felt a pulling at her core, a magnetic force urging her not to give in. "Remember who you are." The old man's voice broke through the haze. "The shadows can be melted by truth." But what was the truth? A knot twisted in her stomach as she remembered that defining moment of her childhood, the day her mother had vanished beneath a sunset so beautiful it nearly hurt. The sky burned orange and pink, yet all she could see was the void left behind. "Do it, Mia." The urgency in his voice struck her, resonating with a familiar beat deep within. "You are the song. You have the power." Mia's breath caught, rising and falling sharply in her chest. She centered herself, feeling the song swirling inside, waiting to be unleashed. "I don't have to face this alone," she murmured, the words igniting a flicker of warmth in her heart. The faces continued to swirl, but she now conceptualized them as souls yearning for connection, not just tortured spirits. Together she whispered, and the shadows paused, their jagged edges softening ever so slightly. With a deep inhale, Mia ascended to greater heights of volume and emotion. "I am here for you. Even in darkness, we are bound by love." The shadows recoiled slightly, thin tendrils drawn back as if struck by a gust of wind. The intensity of the energy shifted, filling her with more than just hope. It was an understanding, an unshakable bond that connected her to every soul trapped within the darkness. A bond that pulsed with life. "Join me. Sing with me," she cried out, summoning every ounce of power. The air shimmered, vibrations thrumming around her as she opened her mouth and poured forth her song, a melody woven from the tapestry of their pain and joy. As her voice soared, a chorus joined in cries of sorrow, effortlessly weaving into a unified, radiant sound. The shadows convulsed around them, a dance of anger meeting humanity's brightest impulse, then, a flash piercing, blinding. The shadows screamed, twisting violently, their once steady forms fracturing into shards of blackness. Mia felt a jolt, as if every note she had sung reverberated back into her, amplifying her heartbeat in a jagged rhythm. Could it really be working? But just as hope surged and the song climbed to its apex, darkness erupted from the depths. "You cannot save them." A voice, deep and sinister, echoed through the now volatile landscape. The turmoil erupted like molten lava, threatening to consume her completely. Give in to despair. Join them. For a brief moment, despair nestled itself in the corners of her mind, whispering of futility and hopelessness. Yet something inside her ignited a powerful fire that blazed against the encroaching dark. She could not look away from the faces of anguish surrounding her. "I won't stop!" Mia screamed, each word slicing through the chaos with razor precision. "I choose love. I choose to remember." The shadows screeched, their growls vibrating through her very bones. The glow drew closer, a tangible energy bursting forth with the force of a tidal wave. Mia could see it now, a path glimmering with hope linking them all together. But just as she reached toward it, an icy grip seized her upper arm, pulling her back. "Not yet." The shadows hissed, their menacing sound dampening the ethereal glow. "You still have much to learn." Time froze, the realization of that phrase wrapping around her like a vine. What more was there for her to discover? As the ground beneath her shifted ominously, Mia knew this was only the beginning of a darker journey still ahead, filled with questions begging for answers. What awaited her as she ventured deeper into unknown shadows? Mia felt the icy grip tighten on her arm, dragging her back into the depths of chaos. The air around her thickened, warped by the shadows that writhed and pulsed like a living nightmare. Panic surged in her chest, but the warmth of her earlier anthem tried to flicker back to life. "No. I won't let go." With a raw determination, she twisted in the shadow's grasp, straining against the pressure wrapping around her like chains. The glow ahead shimmered temptingly, calling her forward. It was a beacon of hope, and any flicker of doubt was doused by the fire that fueled her spirit. She could feel the presence of the souls dancing around her, mere wisps caught in the claws of darkness. "Fight with me!" she shouted, and the words reverberated in the churning void. The shadows recoiled, howling in fury, their forms twisting and contorting. Each agonizing wail echoed through her very bones. Suddenly, a plan formed in her mind. She had to confront the core of this darkness, to peel away layers of fear to reach the truth buried deep within. "Who are you to hold me?" she yelled defiantly into the swirling mass. "Why do you torment them?" The response sent shivers down her spine. The sinister voice melted into the wind, rising ominously from the blackened depths. "I am what you cannot escape, a mirror to your pain. Embrace it, and it can set you free. Resistance only deepens your suffering." Mia's heart thudded wildly, the words slicing through her like a dagger. This was the very essence of her nightmare, the embodiment of her grief. But she would not be bound by it. "No. I won't be a prisoner of my past." With each word, the shadows surged forward, crashing against her will like a dark tsunami. But Mia leaned into her truth. She remembered her mother's laughter, the warmth of her embrace. Those memories blossomed into strength, wrapping around her like a cloak against the cold. "You will not control me. My love can pierce your darkness." And just like that, she sang again. This time it was a lament raw and beautiful, flourished with the bittersweet reveries of sorrow and light. The shadows convulsed, hissing in agony, and for each note, they trembled with unease. While she sang, fragments of broken lives filled her thoughts. Faces and stories layered over one another: an elderly man abandoned by family, a child searching for lost dreams. "You are not alone," she cried over the swelling melody. Mia's song became a tide, and the darkness began to fracture, revealing pockets of light. The ground beneath her feet shifted, a hard tremor splitting the earth as the shadows recoiled in unison. Yet amidst the chaos, a deeper threat emerged from the void. A dark figure materialized, larger than the shadows themselves, standing at the threshold of the light. Its eyes glowed with an otherworldly menace, fixating on Mia. Foolish girl. You think you can undermine me? I am the keeper of every secret, the embodiment of every fear. Surrender now, or face the truth of your own insignificance. Mia's breath hitched. Fear threatened to claw its way back in, but she recalled the flickering glow. The brave faces of the souls beside her, so close, yet so far. You win. I have the power of love and truth on my side. As she sang with every ounce of her being, the curse of the figure began to crack, and for a moment, she felt the bonds of despair loosening. But the figure surged forward, eyes blazing with wrath. You think this is a song? This is your final chance. Choose wisely. The encroaching darkness began to swirl faster, and Mia felt herself teeter at the brink. The chorus of voices behind her united, but was it enough? What would it cost her to finally face the truth, illuminated in the shadows? With the weight of the world pressing against her soul, Mia stood poised at the precipice. Her decision could shatter or save them all. What destiny awaited her in this soul-stirring standoff? Mia's heart raced as she faced the towering figure, a looming specter of her deepest fears. What do you want from me? She shouted, and the sound echoed back to her, swallowed by the darkness. The shadows pulsated like a threatening heartbeat, waiting, taunting. Your freedom, or your fear, the figure hissed, its voice a chilling whisper that curled around her. You can either embrace the darkness, or fight it and be consumed in the process. In that moment, she felt every ounce of doubt creeping back, sneaking in like a snake through the cracks of her resolve. It slithered into her throat, tightening like a noose. But she remembered the warmth of her mother's smile, the gentle pat on her back when things felt overwhelming. She couldn't let that warmth die. No, she screamed, raising her voice against the onslaught of voices screaming, you are trapped. You are weak. The figure's shadow loomed closer, the darkness swirling around her like a storm, but she dug her heels in. I am not weak. I am love. And love is stronger than fear. As if her words sparked a flame, the shadows writhed, their movements chaotic. The ground shook violently below her, fissures splitting open as the darkness staggered. Tiny flecks of light began to burst forth, illuminating the fear and pain that haunted her since her mother passed away. What if you don't survive? The figure crooned, its eyes glowing with a sinister light. What if you lose everything? Those words cut deep, but Mia felt a flicker of defiance. I'd rather try and fail than continue living in the shadows, she declared. Each note of her song came from the depths of her heart, swirling with unshed tears, vibrant with defiance. I will not be your puppet. With every word, a barrier began to form, pushing against the dark force. The cold grip on her arm weakened, as flickering images of lost souls surged around her, aligning with her courage. She remembered their stories, the love tethered to their pain, joining in her melody. You are not alone. Together, we can be brave. The figure roared in fury, the sound tearing through the air like claws against metal. It lashed out, arms stretching wide, trying to ensnare her again. But the light around Mia brightened, coalescing into a radiant shield before her. Suddenly, the ground beneath her erupted, and a blinding flash enveloped her surroundings. Mia shielded her eyes, and when she finally opened them, she found herself standing amid a vast expanse of shimmering nothingness. The shadows were gone, but so too was the figure. A strange silence pervaded the air, broken only by the persistent thrum of her heartbeat. But in that silence came an unsettling chill. It wasn't over. Something deeper lurked just beyond the veil, watching, waiting. Mia, a voice whispered, familiar yet hauntingly distant. You think you've escaped, but you have merely scratched the surface. Her breath caught in her throat. Who are you? She demanded, trying to project confidence, but her voice wavered. The figure materialized once more, no longer as a giant of darkness, but as a mosaic of all the souls she fought for. Flickering faces swirled in and out, each etched with stories of their own. The elders, the children, everyone she had reached out to now surrounded her in spectral solidarity. "I am the truth you overlooked," it sighed. "And now you must face the greatest battle of all, the one within." Chill crept back into the air as Mia took a step back, her pulse racing. She felt the weight of 1,000 expectations, fears, and unresolved griefs pressing against her, ready to drown her again. "No, but the voices of the souls grew louder, joining her once again. "Mia. You must choose. Confront the darkness within or let it sink you forever." Trembling, she looked into the shimmering faces surrounding her. What lay ahead felt more terrifying than anything she had encountered before. Could she really bear it? Yet, amid the fear, hope flickered, urging her forward. Taking a deep breath, Mia stood tall. "This ends now," she declared, and the fight within her ignited. She had no idea what awaited her next, but whatever dark truths lay ahead, she was ready to face them. Would she prevail against the haunting remnants of her past? Or would this battle bring her to her knees? The ground trembled beneath her as the shadows murmured, merging and morphing just beyond her reach. "Only one way to find out," she whispered, heart racing as she readied herself for the tempest ahead. Mia stood at the edge of the abyss, her heart pounding like a war drum. All around her were the swirling remnants of the darkness she had battled for so long. But with each breath, she could feel the warmth of hope flickering, urging her forward. "I want to let you control me," she screamed into the dark, her voice ablaze against the oppressive atmosphere. With a roar, the shadowed figure coalesced before her, its form shifting and morphing into enemies from her past disappointments, losses, all the fears that had shaped her identity. The memories rushed over her, each one a wave crashing down, threatening to swallow her whole, but something was different this time. The warmth blossomed inside, a reminder of her mother's laughter, the joyous song they once shared. "I'm not drowning in you anymore," she declared, her voice steady. "Are you sure?" The figure hissed, a twisted smile forming on its face. "You think you're stronger than your fears? They are who you are." "No." The word burst from her lips like a gunshot. "My fears are not me. They don't define me." With newfound determination, she gathered her thoughts, letting the memories of laughter and love ignite within her. "You think you've broken me, but I've survived," she shouted, the shadows around her writhing in reaction. Encouraged by the warmth of those memories, she let herself fall into the melody that had once been buried beneath the pain. Mia began to sing, her voice piercing through the darkness with clarity and strength. Each note became a declaration, unraveling the fragments of despair wrapped around her heart. "I am more than my anguish. I embrace my pain and joy, and I will not hide." The shadows recoiled, losing their grip on her. Their screams rose, echoing the desperation of souls they had trapped, but Mia didn't pause. She sang louder, weaving her own story into the chorus of the others. "We are united. Together we rise." As her voice reached a crescendo, the figure's form began to blur, splintering into shards of shadow struggling to maintain their hold. "No. You can't escape," it howled, its strength dwindling against the force of joy that surged through her. "Yes, we can," Mia shouted back, with determination lacing her voice. "Love conquers all." In a flash, light broke through the darkness, radiating warmth and hope, illuminating every inch of the spectre before her. The figures of souls trapped in shadows began to emerge, their faces alight with gratitude and relief. With the depth of their lives joining hers, Mia directed their collective strength against the figure. "We choose to remember each other. We choose life." As the melody echoed through the air, their voices, a powerful chorus, intertwined and surged toward the dark presence. The figure twisted, pulling at its own form like a marionette unraveling. "You'll regret this choice," it screeched, but the warmth of love and unity crushed against it like an unstoppable tide. As the light engulfed everything, Mia felt every ounce of despair diminish until it was nothing but a forgotten whisper. With an explosion of sound, the darkness shattered, and the remnants of the long-lost souls soared into the light, freed at last. Mia collapsed to the floor, gasping for breath but filled with an overwhelming sense of peace. Her heart rate slowed as she opened her eyes. The shadows had vanished like fog under sunlight, and all that remained was a soothing quiet. "It's over," she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks, not from sorrow but an overwhelming joy of resolution. Mia, a soft voice drew her attention, and she turned to see her mother's face, warm and radiant, stepping towards her. "You did it, my dear." "I was so scared," Mia sobbed, rushing into her mother's embrace, feeling the comforting glow of her presence wrap around her. "I almost lost everything." "But you didn't," her mother comforted. "You found the strength within. Remember this lesson, our memories shape us, but they do not bind us." In that moment, the realization washed over Mia. Every struggle, every tear, had not defined her, it had formed her spirit. She had freed not just the souls within the shadows but herself from the chains of her past. "I love you," Mia murmured into her mother's embrace. "I love you too, my brave girl," her mother replied softly. As they stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, Mia felt a sense of closure. The struggles might return, but she would face them with courage, armed with love. The gentle whisper of the wind sighed through the open space, and together, they stepped forward into the world, leaving the haunting echoes behind. This was the end of one story, but now, a new beginning awaited them in the sunlight. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support makes all the difference. Together, we can spark passion and creativity to keep these incredible tales alive.